Welcome to the Moonrise Human Design channel. In this video, you can expect to learn about the 2-5 profile. We will be diving deep into the 2 line, what that means. We'll be diving deep into the 5th line, what that means. And then we'll also spend some time unpacking the interplay of what it means to be a 2-5 together.
Before we get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about what we're doing here. So this Moonrise Human Design channel and Moonrise community brand generally is a space for you to learn and explore human design. We believe that human design is a very valuable tool to coming home to yourself, to cultivating love and understanding yourself, and then cultivating love and understanding for those around you. My name is Sam Fotenhauer. I'm an embodiment coach, an intuitive, and human design teacher based in Austin, Texas.
My name is Nadia Last. I'm a therapist and I love using human design in my therapy practice. And I teach human design. We offer a ton of different offerings if you want to dive into the different things about human design. This is just one aspect of profile lines. So we have an entire series dedicated to the different profile lines. You can read about all 12 types of them. You can also join us for human design training, which is a course that we teach. You can join us live. We have live options. We also have self-paced options that you can learn more about in the video description. We also both offer individual human design readings. We offer sessions. Sam works as a coach. I work as a therapist. And if you like this content, please like it. Please subscribe to this channel and please share this with somebody that you think could benefit from it. All of these organic ways help this channel grow and allow us to continue making free and accessible human design content.
So let's start with, what is a profile? Nadia, what's a profile?
A profile in its simplest form is basically how you are intended to use your gifts and share your gifts with the world around you. By learning about your profile, it helps to inform you how you might be able to interact with and share the things that you are best at with the people in your life and in the world with more ease and fulfillment.
It gives even more nuance and depth to other things that you learn in your chart that can speak about role and about how you express yourself. But it's a really important kind of foundational piece. The profiles have numbers. So yours is a 2-5. And what this comes from is that there's 6 different lines in the profile system. So we just call it first line, second line, third line, etc. And everybody has 2 lines. So everyone has 2 different numbers. Your second line and a 5th line, a 2-5. And each of those lines means something. The order also matters. So the line that's first, your second line, is, we call this your conscious profile line. And all that means is that you're likely to have a little bit more of a connection to this. You lead with it. It's probably more obvious to you. You've likely observed it more in your life. And then the second, in human design language, you call it your unconscious, though you may be aware of it or not, is more like a supporting cast character. It's still really important. It's still very much a part about the way that you share, but maybe a little bit less obvious to you. It tends to be a little bit more obvious to the people around you. So today we'll start with the second line. The second line is the Hermit. And what that means is that you are meant to spend time alone. But it's not just about spending time alone, about hermiting, about kind of like, okay, I'm going to kind of separate from the world a bit. The reason that it's valuable to hermit, yes, you can rest and recharge, but in that time, you connect with these innate gifts. Second lines have this very special quality about you, where you will have things that you're innately talented at, that just makes sense to you, that you don't know how you're so good at it or where it came from, but just happened from you. And when you take that time by yourself, you get to develop and cultivate that skill set.
One part of the second line is that the things that you're best at will feel very natural. The word natural is used to describe the second line a lot. And these gifts will feel so natural to you that you might forget or not even realize that other people are not naturally imbued with the same propensity toward the things that you're best at. And as such, as a second line, it will feel really good to hermit away from the projections of other people. People saying, oh, this is what you should do with your gifts. And also, you need to be in interaction with the people around you to know and to reflect and hear reflections. Like, you know, you're really good at that, right? Mm-hmm. You know that most people can't do what you do, right? And hearing those projections, hearing those reflections will allow you to get out of your own head and be able to share those gifts more naturally with the world.
In human design, we use this like language, like you need to be called out as a second line. And so as Nadia's discussing, like, okay, yes, you do need to hermit, but it's not that you're just supposed to hermit by yourself forever. You know, it's like you hermit, you develop these things, and then you start to show them to people, or you start living them, you start doing them. And in doing that, people will say, you're really good at that, or have you ever thought about doing this? And it can feel like a projection when it's something that you don't want, and you feel like you're being forced into something. You're so good at science and tech, you should be an engineer, and you're like, I don't want to do that. I'm so good at cooking, you should be a professional chef. Actually, that's a hobby. Versus, you're so good at photography. Have you thought about that as a career? And then you can feel into like, that would actually be amazing. You're saying that that's possible, I could do that. And because second lines have a really hard time assessing themselves. And so you will need to be called out, and that can feel uncomfortable for you because there'd be a part of you that just kind of wants to like keep it protected. But in that process, you start to reflect on, okay, what is it that others see in me? So it's a reflection. You can think of, what are things that other people tell me I'm good at? And then of those things, what do I want to pursue? You don't need to pursue everything that you're good at. Sometimes second lines learn that and have to learn it later in life. I just picked this career because I'm good at it. Being good at it is a good reason to move forward in something, but also, does it feel aligned for you? Does it feel satisfying? Does it bring you a sense of fulfillment? Do you actually want to do it too? When you have that combination, that's where second lines really thrive.
100%. So that's the second line. The second line is that, in summary, I guess, we can say that the second lines, you are here to have things that you are innately really, really good at. When you give yourself the space and the sanctity of privacy, that is how you cultivate your own inner creative fire. That is how you get better at the things that come most naturally to you. Now we're going to talk about the fifth line. The fifth line in human design is called the Heretic. And the Heretic, it's kind of intense language, Hermit, Heretic. Hermit, again, is just meaning to be by itself, to develop its skills on its own. And the Heretic is how you share those gifts with the world. And we say the world here as the Heretic because you are actually designed to find better ways of doing things. Heretics are meant to be problem solvers. You are meant to really find better ways to do things, more efficient ways to do things. You are designed to go against the status quo, to go against the grain sometimes, and to say, I know we've always done it this way, but I have a better way of doing these things. And that's where the heretic language comes into play, because heretics are meant to be a little bit heretical. They're meant to say, hey, I stand for something different, and I'm progressing humanity forward.
Fifth lines have this ability to see a universal solution. So there's likely something obvious to you that it's like, wow, if we just corrected this thing, or if everyone knew this information, or if everybody developed this skill, if there was this resource, things would get a lot better for a lot of people. Like if we just click this one thing, wow, so much would shift. And you have that ability to kind of like see this, wow, this one thing is universal. And so as a fifth line, you're meant to kind of like see what that call is and then to share it. Fifth lines have this ability to influence people outside of their network, strangers. We call this like impersonal influence. I like to think of the fifth line as the TED Talker, where you like are at a TED Talk conference, or you pull up a TED Talk on YouTube, you watch it, you have no idea who the person is. You don't remember anything about maybe their credentials or where they came from, but you're so moved by their idea. You see yourself in their idea and it sticks with you. And all of a sudden, 4 years later, you're thinking about that idea at work. You're telling somebody about it, you know, at a coffee shop or getting drinks because it moved you. And that's what I think the fifth line has the ability to do. You don't know that person. They weren't a personal friend, but you were influenced by them. The fifth line has that gift. So what is the solution? And then other people seeing it. The other thing about the fifth line is that they are often projected on. So the 2-5 has a lot of projections because they're seen as a savior. Nadia, can you tell me about that?
Yes. As a fifth line, you are meant to solve problems. You are innately a problem solver. And you have to get away from the energy of other people to really filter through your strategy and authority, which we have other videos on, but to tune in with yourself and say, is this actually a problem that I want to be solving? Or do people simply feel my problem solving energy, my fix it energy when I enter a room? And are they just projecting onto me what it is that they want me to fix? So getting clear with yourself means spending some time by yourself. Again, getting into this hermit energy to recognize, am I just solving everybody else's problems right now? Or am I really sinking my teeth into the problems that I want to be solving?
because fifth lines, they have this universal solution, they're the natural problem solvers, people will often put you on a pedestal and they'll say, okay, you can solve all of our problems. We see you in this light, and you may be actually very well equipped to solve that problem, or you may not be. Either way, whenever people are pedestaled, they are eventually deflated, either because you couldn't solve the problem, or perhaps you don't want to, or you don't have the capacity to. You may have even committed to it and said yes, but you're saying yes to so many things because so many people view you and see you as the capable person that you are, but putting too much on your plate, and then you can't fulfill all of it. So it's really important that fifth lines learn boundaries, saying yes, and also learn that there may at times disappoint people. People may be disappointed when they expect things and then it falls, and that's okay. You can hold it. It's okay. And go ahead.
One thing that I wanted to add is it's almost like superhero energy. Excuse me, Wonder Woman can't always be Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman has to feed herself. She has to go home to her family. She has to do other things. So it's like, if you're fifth line, think of yourself before you leave the house in the morning, like you're putting on your superhero cape. It almost can be helpful for fifth lines to have an alter ego that they step into so that they know when they're in their problem solving mode. And Wonder Woman is not necessarily solving small crimes. Wonder Woman is solving the things that she wants to solve. So as a fifth line, you should feel empowered to recognize that your greatest sense of fulfillment will often come in one-to-many solutions. Just like a TED Talk. That TED Talk speaker is meant to give a TED Talk that gets distributed online to many, many, many people, and ideas that shape the way that we do things. Whereas if that speaker just told one person at a time, they wouldn't be fulfilling their greatest gift, which is to share things that transform us, to share mutative truths that will bring us forward as a society.
Nadia, how does the 2-5 fit together? How do those lines fit together?
As a 2-5, you are quite rare. In human design, it's only about 2% of the population. That's why we're so happy we're doing this video. We love you 2-5s. You have such a unique role to play. But the 2-5 profile is interesting because you're receiving projections on both sides. As a 2 line, you're going to receive projections from people who are like, hey, you know you're really good at this, right? Which will feel amazing to hear. And then people will say, this is what you should do with that gift. And you have to be outside of their influence to recognize what actually feels true for me. And then on the 5th line side, people will sense, you can solve this. You're a problem solver. This is what I want you to solve for me. And again, you have to tune into yourself to know, is this a problem that feels most nourishing for me to solve? So as a 2-5 together, you are here to be naturally gifted. You are here to do things and use your gifts that you're not even entirely sure where they come from sometimes. And you're meant to share them in a way that brings us forward to do things in different ways as a 5th line.
So in that problem solving, like, okay, what's the solution? That's going to come to you most likely through that hermit time, through those alone times, through, I don't really know how I know that this works or how this entered my mind or why this is so obvious to me, but I see it here. And that doesn't mean that you won't study or seek teachers or have like trial and error and practice, but the gifts at its core level come from something that is rather innate. And in that, it'll become clear, and then that's what you share. And that's the way you're here to impact others.
Yes. So as a 2 line, I will often tell people, find 3 to 5 people that you trust most and simply ask them, what do you think that I'm best at? And see the common denominators that exist in the answers you receive. As a 5th line, get in touch with yourself and say, what are the problems that I really see in our world? And what are the problems that I find innately interesting that I want to contribute my life force energy to solve?
Yeah. I think that's all we will say for this episode. Anything else you want to finish with?
There's so much more that we could say and that we do say in our human design training. So if you find this really, really interesting and you want to dive deeper, go to our Moonrise Human Design podcast. You can learn more on this YouTube channel, but we really get into the juiciness of what it means to be a 2-5 and more in our human design training, which we offer live and self-paced. And we'd love to welcome you into a future cohort.
If you want to learn more about your chart, you want a reading, but maybe don't want to do a session or want something more price accessible, check out our guidebooks. These are extensive documents that will give you so much information about your whole chart, how all the pieces come together. Thank you for being here. Thank you for studying and learning human design alongside of us. We're so glad to be connected with you. Have a good one.
If you're a 2-5, feel free to share in the comments what you love most about being a 2-5 profile.
Do that.
Mwah.